Okay, so this is going to be a tutorial on parent constraints. This is the one that comes after the basic parent constraint. Basically, what we have here is a guy basically driving a car, or so to speak. Okay, and the first thing I'm going to show you is what a normal parent constraint would do. So right now, I have, if I pick the wheel and I rotate it. This hand is not constrained yet because this is for the purposes of the demo, but this one is, and so you can kind of just see, I have it posed up, and all I did is I posed the hand on there, and then I picked the parent, which is going to be the driver basically, no pun intended, but the wheel is the driver, and the driven is the IK handle, and that's usually the order that you select it in, and then you go to constraint up at the top, which for some reason you can't see. Here, let me see if I can make this better. There we go. So constrain and parent constraint, and you can do the option box, and which I did, and I did maintain offset. Okay, so, and that's how I hooked it together. And as you can see, it is constrained, and I know that because there is blue for the translate and the rotates when I pick the IK handle. And if I turn the wheel, the hand follows it properly, okay, which is exactly what I want. However, it doesn't really allow for any kind of slipping. So if I wanted to animate this, and I hit the S key, this is going to turn, instead of turning being blue, it's going to be green, and the rest of this is going to be the normal keyed color, which is, I believe, orange. So I'll hit the S key, and this turns green, and this turns orange. In addition, it adds the blend parent 1. By default, it comes to 0. Again, I don't know why Maya does that, but we're going to change that to 1, which means on. And so nothing should have really changed. Everything should be just fine, which it is. But let's say I wanted to add some kind of slip into the wheel. So for that, I'm going to pick the IK con, and I'm going along, I'm driving, and let's say it's between 6 and 8, I want to put a little bit of a slip in the hand. So it slips something like that. Maybe there's a little bit of a rotation, something like that. But when I go to scrub back and forth between the two, it pops back. Why? Because it's not, the thing is constrained, so you don't really have any room to really do any kind of adjustments right now. So an easy way to solve that is to build yourself a null stack. Okay? So what a null stack is, it just consists of, I have one right here, 3 locators that are parented together. One is is called the constraint, one is the offset, that's the one that you're going to animate, and one is the bake. I choose these words strictly because of, well, it's what I use anyway in the industry. It's something that works out for our work. But basically, this is the thing that is going to attach to the wheel. If we use our purposes here, you have the steering wheel. The bake is going to attach to the steering wheel. The constraint, or the IK box, is going to attach to the constraint. So the IK box is going to be driven by the constraint. The offset is going to allow us to animate. And because it is the parent of the constraint, it is also controlling the IK box. Because the bake is the parent of all of them, it's also going to control the IK box as well as the offset. And because the bake is constrained to the wheel is basically in control of everything. Okay, so hopefully you follow that. If you didn't, rewind it and listen to what I just said again. So anyways, I'm going to show you how to make a null stack. Let's go to where the origin is here, and we're going to say create locator. I'm going to frame that. So I hit the F key to frame on that. And it's just a basic locator, no big deal. And it's locator 1 right here. I'm going to change the name of that to bake 02 right now, just because. Oops, not back. Oops, you can't see that either. Let me move this in the screen. So here's the locator, and I'm going to change the name of it to bake 02. Then I'm going to duplicate that by pressing Control D, and it makes another one, so it bakes 03. But I don't want it to be that, I want it to be offset 02. So I'm going to change the name, offset underscore 02, enter, and I'm going to duplicate that. And I'm going to change the name of that to CONSTRAINT. st for constraint underscore O2. Okay, and I'm going to make this the child of offset, and I'll make offset the child of bake. And all I'm doing right there is I'm middle clicking and dragging onto the thing that I want to be the parent. So I picked constraint and I middle clicked and I dragged it onto offset and it became a child of it. Okay, you can do the old-fashioned way, and you could say pick the child, then pick the parent, and hit the P, and it'll do the same thing. But I just wanted to show you what I did. Now, the problem is that I have three locators all right on top of each other. If I go to pick it, I end up picking all three. As you can see, there are 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and I don't really want to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this off to the side, and let's move it over here. Move these right here. Okay, I'm going to pick bake 2. Now I don't really want to be able to control bake 2. The only thing that I'm really going to be controlling is offset. So we can turn the visibility off on this one and this one. And if we need to use them, we'll grab them in the outliner like we're doing now. So we go to bake, and I'm going to hit Control A, Control A, and that launches the attribute editor. Under object display, we check off visibility. That basically turns off the visibility of this locator. I'm going to do the same thing for constraint 2. So I'll click on constraint 2. This is now the attributes for constraint 2. Object display, visibility off. I'm done with that. And so now the only thing that I should be picking right now is, let me move this out of the origin because there seems to be something else there. This locator belongs to Morpheus, just so you guys know. It's not part of what I'm building for you guys. This is my group right here, and I'm moving it out of the way. I picked bake, but now you'll notice that if I was to pick this locator, the only thing that highlights is offset 0 to 2, okay, which is exactly what we want. Okay, so now I'm going to take that. Let's move this out of the way. I'm going to highlight bake 02, so that's selected. And what I would do is I would bring it, let's see here, up here. Now I want to line it up with the wrist as best as I can. How do I do that? Well, first of all, this is a little bit small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick my offset. Here's another little trick with working with locators. Pick the one that is visible. And if you go under the shape, the shapes area, there's something called local scale. What that does is it keeps your normal scale at 1, but it allows you to scale up the locator a little bit bigger, basically as big as you want it to be. You know what I mean? So I'm going to go to like 10, and my normal scale is still set to 1. Everything's zeroed out. This is at 1, which is exactly what we want, because and that's also part of the reason why we have 3 locators. The bake is really the only thing that's going to really have value to it. So, you know, we're going to rotate that, we're going to translate it, but you're not really going to be working with that. So if you ever wanted to zero out your control here, it's always going to be 0 because it is a child of the bake. The bake is moving, okay? The child is just following, okay? So the child is always going to be zeroed out for the most part until you start moving it and giving it value. Okay, I don't know if that made any sense, but it is helpful. So, and I'll show it to you again. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick, let's go ahead and hide this bake. This is the one that I made that's going to be constrained, but for purposes of showing you how to do this, I'm just going to use this one that we just created. So I pick bake 02. I want to snap it to where the locator is, or where the IK handle is. So I want to pick my parent, which is going to be my IK handle. Then I'm going to pick bake 02, and I'm going to go to constrain parent. And this time I don't want it to maintain offset. I don't want this to stay where it is. I want it to snap where the IK is. So I hit apply, and it pops it over right here. Now the highlight setup is still good for removing the constraint as well. And how do you do that? You go to constraint and you go to remove target and just click it once and it removes the constraint. But now I have both of my objects lined up perfectly, which is exactly what I want. So now that that's lined up, we're going to go ahead and connect everything together. Now, as we said, this is going to drive everything, and your IK handle is going to be what is driven. So this is going to be the child of pretty much everything. So let me go ahead and get rid of that. The child of the bake group is going to be constraint 02. So if the IK handle is the child of everything, then its parent is going to be the smallest in the locator chain, which is going to be a constraint 02. Hopefully that makes sense to you. And I'll show that to you real quick right here. So this is the parent, this is the child, okay? And I go constrain, parent constraint. I want to maintain offset. Just keep, oop, let me move that back here, hang on one sec. Okay, I want to maintain offset, just keep that checked, and we'll say apply, and that should be constrained. Let's move this to the side. Yes, it is. It's blue, so that's good. Now I'm going to go ahead and test that. So if I hit constraint 02, this turns purple, which means that it's activated. It's being controlled. So if I start moving around constraint 02, yeah, it is invisible, but I still can pick it here, and I still can move it technically. I just can't select it, okay? The constraint 02. The only one that I can select in the viewport is offset, but I could still pick both of them. So I'm going to test constraint 02 to make sure that it is controlling the IK box, and it is, which is great, okay? Now this, since it is the parent of constraint 02, should also be controlling the constraint box, or the IK box. And it is, which is great. And so is bake 02. So that's great. They all control it. That's exactly what we're looking for. Now, I want the wheel to control everything. So the top of the group at this point is bake 02. But this essentially needs to be the child of the wheel. So I'm going to pick the wheel first as the parent. Then I'm going to pick bake 02. And then I'm going to go and add my constraint. So now we have the wheel controlling both of the hands, which is really good. So the final thing that I want to show you is that now if I wanted to animate the hand for some reason, let's just say I wanted to make it shift from 6 to 8, do such like this. Now I'm going to actually see that shift happen, and it's going to respect that, which is great. Because now it's following what the wheel is doing, but it's also allowing me to edit my motion and do little small movements if I needed to, allow the hand to slip down the wheel to a different position, you know, and still have it be attached to the wheel, which is great. But now let's say I want to remove it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's move this out of the way. I'm going to create myself a blend parent down here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit, let's say between 14 and 15 I want to turn it off. So I'm going to go to 14, create myself a blend parent. I still want the blend parent on, so I'm going to change it to 1. Then I'm going to go to 15, and I'm going to hit S, and this is going to be my off point. But I don't want to turn it off just yet. I want everything to basically, well, how do I say this? I need things to move together. If I do this, let's go ahead and turn it off. It should work, okay? And then if I was to take this and key it to 20, move this out of the way, just kind of get it off the wheel somewhere, okay? And if I was to put some motion in the wheel, 20. There we go. Okay, so now what we see is the hand comes off of the wheel pretty seamlessly. Doesn't really pop. Well, it does pop. We're going to learn how to fix that in just a second. But I'm almost out of time on it because I only get a 15-minute limit, so I'm feeling a little bit rushed. I'll show that to you in a different lesson. Okay, show you how to fix that popping that is happening right there. Boom, boop, because that should be nice and smooth coming off of there. Okay, but that's basically a null stack constraint.